The massive council chamber stretched for kilometers, filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. The air itself seemed to vibrate with tension as delegates whispered among themselves. Something was very wrong in the galaxy, and everyone could feel it. Commander Vex stepped forward, his reptilian features grim under the artificial lighting. His scaled fingers traced patterns across the holographic display, showing empty sectors where human activity should have been bustling with life. The silence from those regions was deafening. "Look at these maps," Vex said, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. "For 3 full cycles we have detected absolutely nothing from human space. No merchant ships crossing trade routes, no military patrols defending their borders, no diplomatic messages requesting aid or negotiation. It's as if they simply vanished." "The EZ," delegates murmured nervously. Some species had been at war with humanity for decades, while others had maintained uneasy alliances. But this complete silence was unprecedented and deeply unsettling. Ambassador Kira felt her stomach twist with worry. She remembered her last conversation with Minister Hyun clearly. The human diplomat had seemed strangely calm during their final meeting, even as his colonies burned under alien attacks. His last words echoed in her mind. Sometimes the wisest choice is to step back and observe. Meanwhile, deep beneath Earth's surface, Minister Min stood in a command center that would have amazed the galaxy's greatest engineers. Massive screens showed the progress of humanity's greatest undertaking. Entire cities had been constructed underground, connected by tunnels that stretched across continents. The relocation of Earth's population was nearly finished. Above ground, sophisticated computer systems controlled everything. Automated factories continued producing goods. Robotic ships maintained trade schedules. Digital avatars answered communications from other worlds. To outside observers, Earth appeared completely normal, but every single human had disappeared into carefully hidden underground facilities. Min walked through corridors filled with busy workers. Engineers monitored construction of technologies that would have seemed like magic to the aliens above. Scientists tested weapons that could reshape reality itself. Children attended schools in caverns that had been transformed into beautiful gardens with artificial suns. "Status report," Min requested from his assistant. "Population relocation is 97% complete. Surface automation systems are functioning perfectly. The alien coalition still believes we're operating normally. They have no idea what we've been building down here." Min nodded. 3 years of preparation were about to pay off. While the galaxy had been fighting and destroying human colonies, Earth's greatest minds had been working on something extraordinary. They had discovered technologies that made traditional weapons look like stone tools. In a secure facility on the dark side of the moon, Sue stood before a bank of quantum communicators. These devices could send messages instantly across the galaxy, bypassing all known detection methods. Her team had spent months positioning them near every major alien world. Sue's fingers moved across the control panel with practiced precision. The message she was about to send would reach human agents hidden throughout alien space. These brave volunteers had been living undercover for years, waiting for this moment. "Phase 1 complete," she transmitted. "Initiate final warning protocol." Across the galaxy, the message reached its destinations. On the alien homeworld of Krex, a human disguised as a maintenance worker received the signal. On the trading station of Velor Prime, a human merchant smiled as his hidden communicator buzzed. In the military academy of Zephron, a human student, pretending to study alien tactics, felt her device vibrate. Each agent began their assigned tasks. Some would gather final intelligence on alien military positions. Others would position special devices that would play a crucial role in humanity's plan. A few would simply observe and report on alien reactions to what was coming. Back on Earth, Min received confirmation that all agents were in position. The underground cities hummed with activity as millions of humans prepared for what might be their species' final gamble. They had been attacked, invaded, and nearly destroyed. But instead of fighting back immediately, they had chosen a different path. Humanity had decided to become something more than just another warring species. They had spent 3 years unlocking secrets of the universe that other civilizations had never imagined. Now they were ready to show the galaxy what peaceful beings could accomplish when pushed too far. the silence from human space continued. But soon, that silence would be broken by a message that would change the galaxy forever. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a deep rumble that echoed through the enormous space. Every conversation stopped instantly. Hundreds of alien delegates turned to watch as a single figure walked into the room. It was Jin, Earth's final ambassador, and everyone knew this would be humanity's last official appearance before the galaxy. Jin moved with deliberate steps across the polished floor. His simple black diplomatic uniform stood out starkly against the elaborate robes and armor worn by the alien representatives. He carried no weapons, no guards, no ceremonial items, just a small data pad and an expression of complete calm that somehow made the powerful beings around him feel uneasy. The chamber itself was a marvel of galactic engineering. Designed to accommodate hundreds of different species, it featured atmospheric zones for methane breathers, gravity fields for heavy world inhabitants, and energy barriers for plasma-based life forms. Representatives from civilizations thousands of years old sat alongside delegates from species that had just achieved spaceflight. Commander Vex rose from his seat in the dominant coalition section. His reptilian features twisted into what his species considered a smile, but looked more like a threat display to most observers. Behind him sat the leaders of the alliance that had been systematically destroying human colonies for the past decade. "Look, what crawls before us?" Vex announced, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "The last representative of a dying species. Tell me, human, have you come to beg for mercy? Perhaps to offer the surrender of your remaining worlds?" The other delegates began laughing. The sound was a horrible mixture of different alien vocal cords, creating a cacophony of mockery. Some species clicked their mandibles, others released gas clouds that indicated amusement, and a few simply pulsed with colors that showed their contempt. Jin waited patiently for the laughter to die down. He didn't seem bothered by their reaction. If anything, he appeared to be studying them, like a scientist observing interesting specimens. When the chamber finally grew quiet, he activated his datapad and began to speak. "I come before this council to make an official announcement," Jin said, his voice clear and steady. "Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all galactic treaties, trade agreements, and diplomatic accords. We are severing all ties with every species represented in this chamber." The laughter began again, but Jin continued, speaking over it. "We are also withdrawing from all mutual defense pacts, research sharing agreements, and cultural exchange programs. Earth will no longer participate in galactic civilization as it currently exists." Ambassador Kira felt a chill run through her body. She had known Jin for years, had worked with him on dozens of diplomatic missions. This wasn't the passionate, hopeful human she remembered. This was someone who had been fundamentally changed by recent events. "Furthermore," Jin continued, "we are officially notifying all species that Sol System is now considered sovereign human territory. Any unauthorized entry will be treated as an act of war." Commander Vex couldn't contain himself any longer. He stood up, his massive frame towering over the chamber. "Your species is finished, human. Your colonies burn across the galaxy. Your fleets are scattered and broken. Your homeworld stands alone and defenseless. What could you possibly threaten us with?" The chamber fell silent, waiting for Jin's response. Every delegate leaned forward, expecting to hear desperate threats or final pleas for mercy. Instead, Jin smiled. It wasn't a warm expression or a friendly gesture. It was the cold, calculating smile of someone who knew something that others didn't. "We spent 3 years asking ourselves one question," Jin said softly, but his voice carried clearly through the massive chamber. "Not how to defeat you, not how to win this war. We asked ourselves, do you deserve to survive what we've created?" The silence that followed was absolute. Even the atmospheric systems seemed to pause. The confidence that had filled the chamber just moments before began to evaporate as delegates processed what they had just heard. Jin activated his datapad again and transmitted a set of coordinates along with a timestamp. The information appeared on every delegate's personal display simultaneously. "These coordinates mark the boundary of Sol System, The timestamp indicates when our patience officially ends. Any hostile fleet that crosses that boundary after that time will face complete annihilation. He paused, looking around the chamber, at the hundreds of powerful beings who had considered humanity nothing more than an annoyance to be eliminated. This is not a threat. Threats are made by those who hope to avoid conflict. This is a promise. A guarantee. A statement of absolute fact. Jin turned and began walking toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence, each step seeming to count down to something terrible. As he reached the massive doors, he stopped and looked back one final time. "Choose wisely," he said simply, and then he was gone. The chamber remained silent for several long minutes after the doors closed. Finally, nervous whispers began to spread among the delegates. Some laughed off the humans' words as the desperate bluster of a defeated species. Others felt a growing sense of unease, remembering that humans had always been unpredictable when cornered. Commander Vex slammed his fist on his desk, the sound startling everyone back to attention. "Enough! We will show this arrogant species what happens to those who threaten their betters. Prepare the fleets, we finish this once and for all." But as the delegates filed out to prepare for war, many couldn't shake the feeling that they had just witnessed something far more dangerous than a desperate threat. They had seen a promise being made by a species that had spent 3 years preparing for this exact moment. Admiral Kor stood on the command bridge of his flagship, gazing out at the most magnificent sight in galactic military history, stretching. In every direction around him were 10,000 warships representing 47 different species. Each vessel was a masterpiece of alien engineering, bristling with weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand stellar radiation. The fleet formation extended for millions of kilometers through space. Massive dreadnoughts from the Krex Empire floated alongside sleek destroyers from the Velor Confederation. Ancient battleships from civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millennia shared space with cutting-edge cruisers from species that had only recently joined the galactic community. It was a display of combined military might that had never been assembled before. "Status report from all fleet commanders," Kor demanded, his 4 arms working various control panels simultaneously. His species had evolved for multitasking in zero gravity, making them natural fleet commanders. The responses came flooding in through his communication systems. Krex battle group in position and ready. Velor strike force standing by for orders. Zephron heavy artillery division fully charged and targeting systems online. Each report confirmed what Kor already knew. This fleet could destroy entire star systems if necessary. Kor activated the fleet-wide communication channel, sending his voice to every ship in the armada. "Warriors of the galaxy, today we end the human problem forever. These primitive creatures think their pathetic threats can frighten civilizations that have conquered stars since before their species learned to use fire." Cheers erupted across thousands of bridges as alien crews prepared for what they believed would be an easy victory. Many of these species had been fighting humans for years, wearing them down through superior numbers and technology. The complete silence from human space over the past 3 years had convinced everyone that Earth's civilization was already collapsing. "We have received word that human colonies throughout the galaxy have gone completely dark," Kor continued his broadcast. "Their military forces have vanished. Their diplomatic corps has withdrawn from all contact. They are a broken species making one final desperate gesture before extinction." The Admiral's confidence was shared throughout the fleet. Intelligence reports suggested that Earth possessed no significant orbital defenses. Their famous space, elevators and orbital stations appeared to be operating on minimal power. There were no energy signatures indicating large weapon systems or defensive grids. Meanwhile, on the far side of Luna, Yeon sat in a control room that didn't officially exist. The entire facility had been carved into the moon's interior and shielded, with materials that made it invisible to every known form of detection. She watched dozens of holographic displays showing the approaching alien armada from multiple angles. "They're maintaining standard attack formation," she reported to her team. "No attempt at stealth or tactical maneuvering. They're coming straight at us like we're a minor pirate base instead of Earth itself." Her colleagues worked quietly at their stations, monitoring systems that the approaching aliens couldn't even imagine. 3 years of secret construction had created a defensive network that operated on principles the galaxy's greatest scientists didn't understand. While the aliens had been perfecting weapons that threw energy and matter at their targets, humans had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces that held reality together. "Tay, what's your status from Jupiter Station?" Yeon asked through their quantum communication system. Tay's voice came through clearly despite being hundreds of millions of kilometers away. "All ships have crossed the heliopause and entered Sol system. They're spreading into a standard siege formation around the outer planets. Stealth systems are holding perfectly. As far as their sensors can tell, we don't exist." The Jupiter Monitoring Station was another impossible structure, built into the planet's radiation-soaked magnetosphere, where no conventional technology could survive. From there, Tay and his team tracked every ship in the alien fleet, using detection methods that worked. By observing the way space-time itself bent around massive objects. "Their lead elements are passing Neptune now," Tay continued. "Admiral Kor's flagship is maintaining position at the center of the formation. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding Earth's immediate surrender." Yeon smiled grimly as she watched the tactical displays. The alien fleet was enormous and impressive, but they were fighting the last war. They expected to face human ships and human weapons using human technology. Instead, they were entering a system that had been transformed into something far beyond their understanding. "Look at them," said one of Yeon's technicians, shaking his head in amazement. 10,000 ships and they think they're invading empty space. They have no idea that every square meter of this system has been turned into a weapon. The alien armada continued its steady advance toward Earth, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Their sensors showed them exactly what they expected to see. A few scattered defense satellites, some civilian traffic, and no sign of significant military resistance. What they couldn't detect were the quantum field generators hidden throughout the asteroid belt, the dimensional anchors positioned around each planet, or the reality manipulation devices that had been carefully placed in what appeared to be empty space. Admiral Kor studied the tactical readouts from his flagship. Earth looked defenseless, exactly as intelligence had predicted. "Begin the final approach," he ordered. "I want this finished quickly and cleanly. We'll make an example that will discourage any other species from challenging galactic authority." The massive fleet began moving toward the inner system, unaware that every ship was being tracked by sensors that could see through any stealth technology, monitor any communication, and predict every tactical decision before it was made. As the aliens closed in on what they thought was an easy victory, the humans waited patiently in their hidden positions. The demonstration was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The alien fleet had just passed Neptune's orbit when the impossible happened. Space itself seemed to ripple like water disturbed by a stone. What had appeared to be empty vacuum suddenly revealed hidden structures that defied every law of physics the galaxy thought it understood. Massive geometric forms materialized around the entire solar system. They weren't ships in any recognizable sense, but rather constructs that seemed to exist partially in normal space and partially somewhere else entirely. Each structure was kilometers across, made of materials that shifted between solid matter and pure energy. They formed a perfect sphere around Sol system, with Earth at the exact center. Admiral Kor stared at his sensor readings in complete disbelief. "This is impossible," he whispered to his bridge crew. "Where did these structures come from? Our scouts reported nothing but empty space just moments ago." His tactical officer, a nervous Velor with trembling antennae, checked and rechecked the instruments. "Sir, these readings don't make sense. The structures appear to be manipulating gravity itself. They're creating localized space-time distortions that our computers can't even calculate." Before Kor could respond, one of the geometric constructs focused its attention on his flagship. There was no visible beam, no energy discharge, no explosion. The massive dreadnought that had served as his command vessel for 20 years simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, bristling with weapons and filled with crew. The next moment, there was nothing but empty space where it had been. Throughout the alien fleet, panic erupted on thousands of bridges. Ship commanders frantically checked their sensors, trying to understand what had just happened. The flagship hadn't been destroyed in any conventional sense. There was no debris field, no energy signature, no distress signal. It had been edited out of reality as easily as erasing words from a document. "All ships, evasive maneuvers!" screamed Commander Vex from his own vessel. "Return fire on those structures immediately!" But as the alien crews tried to respond, they discovered something terrifying. Their ships wouldn't move. Engines that could push massive vessels at significant fractions of light speed were now completely useless. Weapons that could punch through planetary shields couldn't even charge their power systems. Every ship in the Armada found itself frozen, in space, held by forces they couldn't see or understand. Then a human voice spoke through every communication system in the fleet simultaneously. The voice was calm, almost gentle, but it carried an undertone of absolute authority that made veteran warriors feel like frightened children. "This is Commander Sue of Earth Defense," the voice said. "You were warned. You chose to ignore that warning. Now you will learn what humanity discovered during our 3 years of silence." On Luna, Sue stood in the control center, watching the frozen alien fleet through her holographic displays. Around her, human technicians monitored systems that would have seemed like magic to the greatest minds in the galaxy. 3 years of intensive research had unlocked secrets of the universe that other civilizations had never imagined possible. "We have mastered forces that treat your most advanced technology like primitive tools," Sue continued her broadcast. "Your weapons work by throwing matter and energy at targets. Your shields deflect physical impacts and absorb energy discharges. But what we've created operates on deeper levels of reality itself." The alien crews listened in growing horror as they realized the scope of what they faced. Their ship's artificial intelligences couldn't even categorize the forces holding them in place. It was as if the fundamental laws of physics had been rewritten specifically to neutralize their technology. From his position near Jupiter, Lee activated the next phase of the demonstration. His voice joined Sue's on the fleet-wide communication channel. "Observe carefully what you're about to witness. Your species need to understand exactly what Earth is now capable of." 3 more alien vessels were selected from different parts of the fleet. Like Admiral Kor's flagship, they simply vanished from normal space. But unlike the first demonstration, these ships and their crews weren't destroyed. Instead, they were transported to holding facilities that existed in dimensions parallel to normal reality. Inside these impossible prisons, the alien crews found themselves in comfortable environments, perfectly suited to their biological needs. They had air to breathe, food to eat, and space to move around. But they were also completely cut off from normal space-time, existing in a realm where rescue was impossible and escape was meaningless. "Your crews are unharmed," Lee explained to the remaining fleet. "They exist now in secure facilities where time moves differently than in our universe. From their perspective, only minutes will pass while years go by in normal space. They will be returned to you unharmed once this conflict is resolved." The demonstration continued as more ships disappeared, each vanishing in a different way to showcase the variety of technologies humanity had mastered. Some were moved through space instantaneously, reappearing on the far side of the solar system. Others were frozen in temporal fields where seconds stretched into hours. A few were shifted into parallel dimensions where they remained visible, but completely unreachable. Commander Vex, now the senior officer in what remained of the fleet, tried desperately to maintain some semblance of command authority. "This is some kind of illusion," he broadcast to his ships. "Humans don't possess technology like this. It's impossible." Sue's response was patient but firm. 3 years ago, you would have been correct. But while you were conquering and destroying, we were learning and growing. We discovered that the universe contains forces far more powerful than anything your civilizations ever imagined. She paused, letting her words sink in throughout the paralyzed fleet. "We could destroy every ship in your armada without effort. We could erase your homeworlds from existence or transport your entire species to dimensions where they would be forever lost. But we choose not to do these things." The alien crews waited in terrified silence for whatever would come next. They had entered Sol System confident in their overwhelming superiority, only to discover that they were insects facing gods. The humans had transcended everything the galaxy thought it knew about technology and warfare. Instead, Sue continued, we offer you a choice. Return to your worlds and share what you have witnessed here. Tell them that Earth has moved beyond the need for conquest or territory. But also tell them that we will not tolerate aggression against any innocent species anywhere in the galaxy. The demonstration was complete. The galaxy's greatest military force had been rendered helpless without a single human life being lost. Now the real test would begin, whether the alien civilizations would choose evolution or annihilation. The transition happened in an instant that felt like eternity. One moment, the alien fleet was trapped in Sol System, paralyzed by forces beyond their understanding. The next moment, they found themselves floating in familiar space near their home worlds, millions of light years away from Earth. Every ship was exactly as it had been before entering human space, with one crucial difference. Their crews were forever changed by what they had witnessed. Commander Vex stood on his bridge, staring at the tactical displays that confirmed their location. They were back in Krek's space, near the military shipyards where his fleet had assembled just days earlier. But the journey home had taken no time at all. The humans had moved 10,000 ships across the galaxy, as easily as moving pieces on a game board. Sir, his tactical officer reported with a trembling voice, all ships are accounted for. No casualties, no damage to any vessel. It's as if we were simply relocated. Throughout the fleet, similar reports came in from confused commanders. The humans had demonstrated power beyond imagination, then sent them home unharmed. It was a display of mercy that somehow felt more terrifying than any threat could have been. But the real shock came when they tried to contact their military headquarters. Every weapon system in Krek space had been simultaneously disabled. Not destroyed, not damaged, but simply rendered permanently incapable of causing harm. Planetary defense grids that had protected worlds for centuries now functioned only as elaborate light displays. Warships that had conquered star systems found their weapon arrays transformed into harmless energy projectors. The same phenomenon was occurring across the galaxy. On Velor Prime, the massive orbital bombardment platforms that had terrorized dozens of species now generated beautiful aurora displays in the planet's atmosphere. In Zephron space, the dreaded planet-killer missiles had been converted into devices that could heal damaged ecosystems instead of destroying them. Ho sat in Earth's primary communication center, preparing to deliver humanity's final message to the galaxy. Around him, technicians monitored quantum transmitters that could reach every inhabited world simultaneously. The technology that made this possible would have seemed like magic just years earlier, but now it was simply another tool in humanity's expanded toolkit. This is Earth, speaking to all civilizations throughout the galaxy, Ho began, his voice calm and measured. By now, you have discovered that your weapons no longer function as they once did. This was not an act of aggression, but one of intervention. The message reached every corner of known space instantly. On thousands of worlds, alien leaders gathered around their communication devices to hear what the humans had to say. Some were filled with rage at what they saw as an attack on their sovereignty. Others felt a growing sense of relief that the constant threat of warfare might finally be ending. We could have destroyed you all, Ho continued. Our technology now allows us to reshape matter and energy at the most fundamental levels. We could have erased entire species from existence, or transported your civilizations to dimensions where rescue would be impossible. We chose mercy instead. In the Galactic Council chambers, the remaining delegates listened in stunned silence. Ambassador Kira felt tears streaming down her face as she realized what humanity had accomplished. They hadn't become conquerors or destroyers. Instead, they had evolved beyond the need for such primitive solutions. Ho's message continued across the galaxy. For too long, this galaxy has been trapped in cycles of violence and conquest. Powerful species dominate weaker ones. Resources are seized through force rather than cooperation. Entire civilizations live in fear of annihilation by their neighbors. On worlds that had suffered under alien occupation, populations gathered in public squares to hear the broadcast. Species that had been enslaved for generations felt something they hadn't experienced in centuries: hope. "This era is now over," Ho declared. "The technologies we have mastered can heal damaged worlds, extend lifespans beyond current limits, and open doorways to dimensions filled with unlimited resources. We offer these gifts freely to any species that chooses to abandon warfare and embrace peaceful cooperation." Na took over the transmission from her station in the lunar facility. Her voice carried the same calm authority, but with an undertone that made it clear this was not a negotiation. "However," Na said, "let there be no misunderstanding about our resolve. Any species that attacks innocent worlds will face immediate intervention. We have demonstrated that your weapons cannot harm us, and your fleets cannot escape us. We have become something your civilizations cannot fight and cannot hide from." The implications of her words spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Military leaders who had spent lifetimes planning conquests suddenly found their strategies meaningless. Weapons manufacturers discovered their products had become obsolete overnight. Entire economic systems based on warfare and conquest faced immediate collapse. "You now face a choice," Na continued. "You can evolve beyond your violent past and join a galactic community based on cooperation and mutual advancement, or you can continue down the path of aggression and face powers that make gods of humans." The transmission paused, allowing the weight of those words to settle across thousands of worlds. Then Na delivered the final message that would reshape galactic civilization forever. "We are not your conquerors or your rulers. We are gardeners, tending to the growth of consciousness and compassion throughout the universe. The seeds of a better galaxy have been planted. Whether they grow into something beautiful or are consumed by the fires of your own choosing is now up to you." The message ended, leaving the galaxy in profound silence. On every world, leaders and citizens faced the same fundamental question. Would they choose to transcend their violent nature, or would they discover what happened to species that threatened the innocent under humanity's protection? The age of conquest was over. The age of evolution had begun. And at the center of it all stood humanity, no longer the victims of galactic aggression, but the guardians of a peace that could last forever.